This is Starbucks coffee. This is Starbucks instant coffee, instant espresso. I was up until 1 o'clock in the morning yesterday. It's 8:45 in the AM Los Angeles time. Ooh, and I didn't shave. Oh boy. Looking a little snowy around the slopes there. This is so good. Thank you, Starbucks, for making your instant espresso and keeping me up all day. That's right. So I noticed yesterday that I moved a couple of times, and it was actually, it was better for me than it was for you, because when I watched it back, I'm like, oh, that's terrible. I'm trying something different today, like waking up. Look, man, I am on regimen. I go to sleep every night around 10 o'clock. I get up at 7 a.m. every day. Maybe a little bit before. Sometimes I get up to pee. I am homeless. I don't ask for any money. And what I am is a creative individual. What I've discovered is pretty horrific. They use Facebook and Instagram as behavior modification weapons. Now, these same weapons are used also by, you know, police departments, any number of quote-unquote intelligence agencies. I know that they ran roughshod over me. I'm not really sure why. But what I talk about is whatever I can think of when I'm just waking up. You can see it's a cloudy day. I don't think you can really see, but take a look behind me. Very cloudy. I'm completely congested now. And that's how it works. Right? Don't forget, we tap into what I deem the Eggyverse. Okay? We can tap into my subconscious, and by doing that, we can tap into a collective unconscious. Okay? This is very true and real. This is how I'm able to decipher a lot of things. Sorry, guys. Told you. When it gets cloudy like this, I just get congested. And plus it's this too, a little bit. So good. So good. Oh man, guys, all I watch are eating channels. And it's not cooking channels. I don't care about people cooking. I don't care how you cooked it. I just want to see somebody eat it. Smash burgers, mac and cheese, all that stuff. Oh, I love it. I eat off the EBT menu. Yesterday I had a can of chili and I mixed it with a can of peas. And that was pretty good, but I did go over budget. This put me over budget. But again, I can, you know, kind of compensate for it. There's a community center I got signed up for that I could get a meal at, but I got to be up there at a certain time, and it's way on the other side of town. I don't. You could see I keep all my stuff with me like this. That's I don't know. It's about 100 pounds, something like that. Maybe a little more than 100 pounds. I carry all my stuff with me because I'm basically the real thing. And by the way, boy, that song "Come Together" really was the undoing of John Lennon. I mean, the way I wrote a song called "Lick the Boot," the way it was probably going to be my undoing. Right? I wrote a song called "Lick the Boot," and basically what it was, I was talking about sycophants in the scene and going along with the crowd. But the lyrics are like a Yo Mama song. Excuse me. Because, gee, I don't know. I was 20. Take a look at some of these rap, you know, like these rap battles that were on MTV. It was the same thing. They didn't have rap battles. I was born in the PC era, before computers. Right? And, you know, they didn't have any of this stuff. And for my generation, what it was a punk rock nihilism, right? And nowadays you have basically the rap guys doing all that, right? They're coming out saying, you know, they're the best, they're the king. You know, they're like the guys in the jailhouse, right? And it's like, oh, if you had all the women and all the cars and all the drugs you were talking about, how come you're in here for not paying your tickets? Right? So, this is all I get all day, too. It's, sorry guys, it is watery, okay? It's watery, and you know, but you can't beat it, man. I told you I was up until 1 o'clock in the morning because of this. I love it. My brain is firing off on all cylinders, as it were. And again, yesterday, you know, I have to try different things. I try different things on my show, and sometimes I don't stick with it. Like, I say, hey, can you donate to the show? Can you donate to the show? Well, can't really donate to the show anymore. I don't really care. You know, you got to move on. But, okay, what I discovered was that through the Facebook app and through Instagram now, because they're both owned by the same company, okay, and we figured this out right here on this show. And I want to make sure you understand that I was born in the BC era before computers. I have no training. I'm not a coder. I don't know anything about computers. I don't program computers. I know nothing about them. What I use is called the English language. And what I use is the dictionary. And what I use is etymology. What I use is the thesaurus. You guys remember Stylonosaurus? Calling me out for all my fun stuff that I do. I'm fun. You're gonna hear a little bit of noise pollution today. I saw a girl in an AC/DC shirt. Like, I'm telling you, I see these classic rock shirts everywhere. Okay? And we talk a little bit about my project, which is going to go from punk rock into grunge, into the biggest band. Now, this is going to be a created band, guys. So we're going to use elements of Adam and the Ants. And we're going to use elements of different elements, because Darby Crash, right? Darby Crash actually went over to England and he got a mohawk right away. And that was, I think, in 1980. Okay, so again, we're going to be taking different elements from the whole entire punk rock generation, and we're going to be using them to tell this story. And the story is basically any story of these bands around that time, right? And again, I'll get up and move if I think it gets too noisy in here. Boy, I found a book yesterday, and I had to grab it because it's by Ross McDonald, and I wanted to read it. I wanted to read a Ross McDonald. Is all I can have. Oh, I want so much more. So yeah, I wanted a Ross McDonald, and I found one. And I'm in the middle of my Hans Jonas book about Gnosticism, so I wanted to try to read that before I started another one. But again, you can see that it's a different genre, right? I gotta switch it up. I'm in a good mood today, even though I didn't really get much sleep. It's because I can have these breakthroughs, and then I can go back to sleep. Okay, once you wake up, I wake up around 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm able to go back into sleep and tap into my subconscious a little bit. I wake up in the morning. There's a girl, she graduated from Yale. She got her law degree, and and then all of a sudden now she's in her 30s, And she wants to do something else. You understand? She doesn't really want to work in a law office. And this is what you find out in life, right? You switch, you change. And if you want to go somewhere and you want to work there for 20 years, that's your business. I'm not putting you down. But there's some people in the world like me, non-successful people, who I got about 5 to 10 years I put into things, and then, you know, you got to kind of move on a little bit. I mean, can you imagine you're a Yale graduate, but once you're a Yale graduate, you can kind of do whatever you want. You know what I mean? You kind of got the keys to the kingdom a little bit. And, you know, I'm trying to move my show on from like any type of sour grapes at all. I really am. I don't want to really have those same shows anymore. I want to try to move on. I want to try to talk about this property. I'm trying something different today. I'm holding my device, and it's probably worse. I gotta try it. I had to try it. Yesterday's show was terrible. Thank you for sticking with me. The point that I was trying to make was that BlackRock also capitalized on the entire George Floyd debacle. Okay, they also capitalized on it. And I told you through Media Deep Blue, I had I swear the shows are gonna get better. Through Media Deep Blue, they came up and they showed me that the entire incident with the Central Park Karen was this behavior modification weapon being used, okay? So I want to make sure that's clear. This is a behavioral modification weapon that's being used by people like my wife. Now, I remember my wife took a vow, not to me, of course. She was just gaslighting me. But she was part of the government in whatever, Queens, New York. And there were a bunch of people there at this ceremony. So again, I don't know if that gave her the right to use this weapon. I don't know if she had a right. I don't know who has a right to use this weapon. But I do know I'm the only show talking about it. And it's not just the weapon. They can come through Facebook, and they used to be able to come through Twitter and Instagram. Facebook and Instagram. Now, okay, that's why Elon Musk made this thing, made it open source. That was the key. Okay, now check out, I listened to Lex Friedman. I urge you to check that out. Lex Friedman, he's a MIT graduate, and he works at MIT. He's had numerous people on his show. Okay, one of the last people that was on his show, he was one of the last people on his show was like from a decade ago. He was like featured in a magazine. There was an article written about him because he was like young and upcoming and whatever, you know. He said that it only takes about 50 people to run Twitter. Think about that. He said they could run the entirety of Twitter with about 50 people. Guys, look at how much money that company's worth. Look at how much money the people working there would be making. And look at how many people were working there. Now, they say he fired 80% of the staff, but you don't know how many people that is. I'm sure you can find it somewhere. If you're interested in what I'm talking about, please comment below. I'm the only person talking about this, and I figured it out. And I'm not even a computer guy. Excuse me. Okay? I'm not a felon, and I'm not a dangerous criminal at all. I told you about being set up, right? Being set up in St. Clair Shores, Michigan. And that's what they do if you're persona non grata. That's why I don't really know the cities here in Los Angeles. I try to stay kind of where, I don't know, where people tolerate me. I don't know. Probably nowhere. Yeah, 6 feet under. I was able to figure this out. Now, guys, stick with me here. That's why Elon Musk open sourced the code for Twitter, because they didn't do that at Facebook and Instagram. They won't do that. They'll never do that. Why? Because he's using it as a behavioral modification weapon. And Frances Haugen just did a talk right here at LA Talks. And so she was talking to the tech nerd at the LA Times. I couldn't really, I was only able to catch it. I caught it live yesterday, only for about 15 minutes. They weren't going any place that I wanted to know about, so I might have to listen to it all over again. Okay? Guys, I was able to figure this out, and I'm 57 years old. I call myself Heinz 57. That's what I literally call myself, Heinz 57. And I never took a computer class in my life. I had to take typing class. That's how old I am. I took typing class, and I was like embarrassed because I was the only guy in there. And I don't know if you know this, but I always talk about like dirty magazines because that's what we had. Like there was no porno when I was coming up. Pornos, you had to go to some crazy skeevy theater to see. Okay? And even once the VCRs came out, like you had to go to the skeevy place to buy it. Right? And I did for years. Right? But when I was in high school, like I had an unnatural expectation of, what a woman was and like who you wanted to like fall in love with. Like I had, it was like when you're a kid, I'm in high school, I'm thinking of like women. I always loved women between the ages of 30 and 50 years old. I mean, that is like, and again, to this day, right? That's when women are their most beautiful. And I just think it's really sad using a behavioral modification weapon on somebody. Like, what are you doing? This is complete and utter targeting. And again, when you put this in the news media, they're just gonna laugh. They're gonna say, oh, it's like a shock collar because you a dog. They're gonna like make all this, right? All these dumb jokes about it. But let me tell you something, it was tortures of the damned, sirs and ladies and theys and others. Tortures of the damned. And this is what they're doing. They, meaning those involved in this kind of stuff. It's insane. And there is no way that anyone should be putting up with this. But it goes much deeper than that. Okay? And I make these claims on my show, and I'm the only person talking about this stuff. I have every right to be here because why? Because I'm talking about the television show that I'm actually going to be writing, and you will see this show get made. It was a very interesting time to go from punk rock into grunge and the emergence, the parallel emergence of this conscious rap. Okay, and that's kind of where my head's at, is going into this whole rap aspect of it. Don't forget, at my high school talent show, I did a punk rock song and I did a rap song, and it was 1984. We didn't know what this music was. We didn't know where it was going, but it was fresh, it was interesting, and my songs are still fresh and interesting, especially if another band records them. I have no problem with my confidence when it comes to Linoleum Blown Apart. I have no, you couldn't shake me. You can't shake me. Look, man, I basically sleep outside. I sleep in my car, luckily for me, but I don't know how long that's gonna be. I have to carry everything I own with me just in case I get broken into. I don't wanna lose everything, but here I am. And because I allowed myself, right, I did the right thing, and that's the main thing. When I went back to Michigan, I knew I did the right thing. You guys have to understand, they used this weapon on me for well over 10 years. And they came in and they crushed me and they canceled me. But I told you, the other side of the pendulum, I call it the other side of the pendulum, which would literally be the pendulum is swinging back. It always does. Right? It always does. And again, I have to, you know, I try to keep it, I keep it down a little bit. I stay away from anybody else. There's a couple park rangers over here. I don't really show you anything. You know, there's a guy sleeping over there. He's sleeping in. The lawnmower's like running right by his head. I don't care. Right? I get up when the sun comes up and I go to sleep when the sun goes down. Okay? This is how you can build this stamina if you're ever in this situation. Okay? I did drugs and alcohol. I did them since I was a 12-year-old kid. You think 45 years later that I have any interest in smoking cigarettes? I'm doing that when I'm a kid because I don't know any better. Do you think that you're going to grow to be 60 years old and be as dumb as a box of rocks and a bag of hammers that broke them? I don't know. Maybe some people are, but I certainly aren't. And with that rumor mill in Michigan, that almost got me clipped. And it almost got me clipped numerous times. And it almost got me clipped by people that I know who are willing to go along with it. And this is what I'm trying to tell you. I don't know anything about computers. I was born in the PC era. And I was able to figure this out, and I'm the only one talking about this, guys. Elon Musk went in, he tweaked the algo, and he made it open source so you can see exactly what's going on there. And then a guy on Lex Fridman said that they only need about 50 people to run that entire company that has, how many people are on Twitter, guys? How many people are on Twitter? I think Facebook has 1 billion. You see what's happening? And Facebook and Instagram are being used as behavioral modification weapons. Right here, little old Zoolander. So I want you to go back in time, take a look at all the people that I called out by name, and contact them. And be like, hey man, wow, there's a guy, he wrote all these songs, he wrote all these stories, he does a show while he's homeless in the park. Hey, what's your angle on what happened? Yeah, now that's what a real journalist does, not some mama's boy who sits around making up stories to cover up for a murder in Michigan. Oh yeah, don't ever think I'll ever forget about that either. Bunch of phonies. So, this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. This is heating up. And I'm the only one talking about it. Okay? And again, my views are restricted and this, that, the other thing. I have to be homeless. I've been canceled. Oh my God. Well, I told you, these guys on this last job, they do this dumb hazing thing. Okay? Okay. You hazed me out of the job. Ooh. And then I got people coming up on the street. It's like, whatever, dude. They talk to me. I guess I must look like a babe in the woods or something. I don't know why these guys have the notion that I haven't been put in this situation before. Apparently they do. Because I don't have tattoos, because I don't front. I don't have to. Because I use this. Right? I still call it the Nuos, the Noos, and the Logos, right? It's thought, word, and deed. You hear this in the, if you go to church. I was raised a Christian, right? I have to be a heretic because I can't believe in the Holy Trinity, right? I'm sorry, I just can't. And I have to be honest. Why be a phony? Why be a liar? Why? Because you could probably make a lot of money on YouTube if you do. Sorry, YouTube. Jeez. I gotta call it like I see it. So many phonies on YouTube. So many people who build up their channel and then they have to like create fake content to keep people interested. You're never gonna get that here, right? What I'm doing is maybe I'm building my skill for something else. You ever think about that? I am working on one of the last musical television shows that it's gonna come out that's gonna be grittier than The Wire and The Sopranos put together. Guys, there's gonna be a lot of murders in this thing. There's gonna be a lot of intrigue. There is gonna be drugs. We have to introduce drugs, okay? Just because of the drugs. I don't know what I can say, what I can't say on YouTube. Still to this day. So, that's why I was talking about BlackRock, because they're a financial institution and they took over some of these mega corporations. Just think of Amazon, okay? I was actually let go from Amazon in Pontiac, Michigan. They were running game on me and I don't really care. Like I said, this last job out here in Commerce, California said, Gordon, you're a joke. We're gonna lock the bathrooms on you. The same thing they did over at US Art. You're a joke, Gordon. Okay, man. That's when I stopped. I'm not gonna try anymore. I'll go online. I'll try to find a job at a fast food place. I'm gonna try to get a job at Subway or somewhere. Okay? I'll just get a job like that. I'll be fine. Not worried about it. But I was able to start doing my show every day. Okay? And so what the show was able to do was I was able to free associate. Okay? And through these free associations, I was not only able to add to my memoir, which is called Two-Legged Animal, but I was also able to figure so many things out. Why? Because it wasn't the shock collar that was Facebook, the app that was on my phone. It wasn't that. It was that I went down into the depths, basically, of Hades. That's right. I use very poetic language. Like I said, I can pass any forensic test. I've been through the system, right? Most of the people who like to shoot their mouth off and say you need to be medicated never went through the system. I have. I went through it like a true investigative journalist, like a true method actor, to try to figure out. Sorry, my arm's shaking. I'm trying something new today, guys. I'm holding my device. I don't really like it too much. I got my device out of my case. We're gonna try it. I don't know. What do you guys want to do? My arm's getting. This is how I live, guys. This is how I live. And it's pretty awful. It's not easy. And I hate it. Oh, well, life sucks, then you die. That's what we said in the 1980s. Life sucks, then you die. So that's the situation that I'm in. And apparently, a bunch of people who actually think that they know me wanted me to. They wanted me to die. Absolutely. I'll stand by that. Yeah. And it included my wife. She was sniggering about all of this stuff. It's behavior modification, guys. And it comes through the Facebook app. And it could come through, now, again, they have it, police officers have this on their phone. And I heard somebody yesterday refer to it as a stun gun. It is not a stun gun. It's worse than a stun gun. People that I know, my wife was using it, and my old drummer was using it. It is behavior modification, and it crushes you. And tons of people, apparently, in the police department and in the government know about this. And they just use it on people, and they use it to create viral videos, and they use it to create Karens. And I'm the only one talking about it. Oh, I feel great. I got powdered I got powdered espresso. Oh, tastes heavenly. I feel good. I'm firing off on all my cylinders. All right. I do an hour-long show every single day. And again, like I was talking about BlackRock, they utilize the George Floyd incident. But it wasn't just George Floyd. It was the Central Park Karen. And the Central Park Karen was victimized by this neurological weapon that was used on me for a decade. Look at me, man. You gotta kill me. So, what I decided to do, because when I was so dumb. I was so dumb. I can't believe, you know, what happened with my wife. I just really, I honestly, it's so brutal and so, it's tough. And guess what? What happened about 7 years ago. It's already been about 6 or 7 years since my wife. That's 2017, whatever this is now. It's going to be 2024. It's going to be 7 years. That was the last time I saw her. It's brutal, man. Brutal knowing that she was doing this the entire time. The entire time. And it was coming through my Facebook app, so it's like double whammy. And they said it could come through your other devices as well. And when you're targeted with this tech, you don't know what is happening. I wrote a piece called Some College. Like I said, my writing's scattered everywhere. But that's okay. What I did is I switched to this medium right here. Okay? I'm using the video medium. I'm right here on YouTube. It's the biggest platform in the world. I ask you guys to grow the channel if you can. Try to get some more people subscribe to my channel, please. I'm the only person talking about this. But what I also do is I talk about my project. Okay? And so in this project, I really love Walter. I love Walter's life. And you can see how many ideas that I've come up with just in this last year. That's what I was talking about. Sorry. So when they let me go from this last job and I knew something was going on, they actually used this neurological weapon on me at the last job. It's in the community section. I still have things posted there. They used it on the job. That's what made me break down and start crying and say, man, I need a drink. I need some alcohol or something. I don't know what's going on. That's what they used. And when they were using this weapon on me through the Facebook app, or they can target you, they can point it at you, right? Because there was no way they could point it at me when they're using the weapon and I have my phone. So they were coming through the app, and I discovered this on my own. I don't need to graduate from MIT to do this. Okay? I'm showing you that if you use your discernment, that you too can figure any of this stuff out. If you find yourself in trouble, if you find yourself having emotional problems, try first, if you don't have any medical insurance, maybe try first getting off your device. Thank heaven they're not coming through the YouTube app. Thank heaven. Because it would crush me. But at this point, I know exactly when it happens. I know what it feels like when it happens. And nobody has a right to use this. This is what I'm trying to tell you. They're using it and they're making viral videos out of it. And that's what they're doing. So anyways, so that's why I finally was able to reach this state of Zen. And because I was able to pay my payroll taxes all these years, I was able to get food stamps. That's the only thing that kept me alive. Okay? Is living off these food stamps. And you can go back in time and you could see that I said, man, I only have $6 a day, but I have to train my body to eat $6 a day. Today I'm gonna go get some greens and some hot sauce. Right? Yesterday I had peas and chili in a can. It was really great. I love that mixture of peas in the chili. It was really terrific, very hearty. Okay? This is what I'm willing to do for my show. This show needs to really grow. It really does. Because I'm talking about cutting edge things. And If I'm quote unquote making accusations, then, let the chips fall where they may. Because I've had it with these phony guys. And let me tell you something, these people, when they were doing this to me, they were so incredulous. Just beware of this incredulous look, like, what? 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 They're like human Funko Pops, these people. They're NPCs, they really truly are. They are human Funko Pops. They're like bobbleheads. And they're just incredulous. That's what they are. And they'll just deny everything. And, years ago, I don't know about sin. Some people say that a sin is having more than what you need. And I agree with that. You shouldn't really have too much more than what you really need. Right? They have hoarders and all this kind of stuff now. Like I said, I ran a very successful eBay business right out of my parents' house. I was making money. I made a mistake because I tied it into my own bank account. So I had all this money going out, and then for like 2 weeks, they were going to close my account. They're going to start charging me $30. You know what I mean? But if I would have done it differently, right, then I would have. That's why I had a second bank account a long time. Okay. I can tell you all about that. It's very successful. But when it comes to my mom and my sisters, they run everything. And I'm not allowed to do anything. I was lucky enough to be able to do what I did there. I put a bunch of things in my parents' house into tubs, and I was able to kind of move it all out of the way. None of it's dirty. Okay, there was never any dirt anyway. We didn't have a dirty house. It was just cluttered. There was stuff everywhere. Okay, so I'm glad at being able to stay at my parents', but I wasn't able to figure this out, and it was full tilt boogie on me. And they kept coming through this app and through the Facebook app, and you will get got. I have nothing but the utmost confidence in my abilities to discern what happened, in my abilities to convey the message about this kind of stuff. And like I said, I'm not a saint. I know I'm not a saint. And if I'm canceled, I'm canceled. Oh, well. People will believe anything. They actually believe that if you're online, that you're going to make a bunch of money. I mean, take a look at Bam Margera. I bring him up a lot. I feel very sorry for him, but I know that they're running game on him. That's what they're doing. And it's people in his own family because they want that money. And whatever little he's got left, they're going to get it. But look at all these, I remember watching an episode. I never watched the show. It was I never really was into it. But he's just like, look at all the clothes. They send me free clothes, dude. Look at all the free clothes they send me. That's Bam Margera. Look at all the free clothes. Fucking accent. Look at how he's dressed. He looks like a white trash Elvis. What is going on? He's all spangled. He wears these garbage clothes, right? Now, take a look at that situation, right? Here's a guy who basically had everything, right? And now he has nothing. And they're going to take it and they're going to make it look like he was an alcoholic. Well, what was the first thing that I wanted to do when they're using this tech on me? I wanted my old friends, right? A pack of Winston and a Mickey's Big Mouth. We used to call him Mickey's Big Mouth. I like Mickey's. Right? Because you don't know what's happening, because your brain is scrambled and you're like, man, I think I need a drink. Something's happening and I don't know what it is. It is a neurological weapon. And people use this willy-nilly. I'm trying to tell you, I know every time that this weapon has been used on me. And it is extremely dangerous. It creates criminals. Take a look back when I started this show. Take a look at what I was talking about. I was talking about on the ground stuff because I'm from the BC era. And I was able to put these things together, right? And see that, oh, it's not just on the ground, it's right here. So this is why Elon Musk made it open source, so you can go in there and see what's happening. He got rid of all the employees. Why? Because what were they doing? They were targeting individuals, and they were cranking the algorithm, and they were creating mayhem. I guarantee, you go take a look at January 6th, the people who, I bet you the most app on anybody's phone, I don't know really quite how to put it, I believe people probably had the Facebook app more than any other app, because they're a bunch of boomers. They're like guys my age, okay? Now they say the planet Pluto is conjunct right now, and it hasn't been in this state since 1776. Very volatile. You can see what's happening in France, and you got Macron just sitting there, okay? They are using this device. They are using AI to create this, okay? And again, all they have to do is put up a couple viral videos, but what they're doing is they're gonna crank the algorithm on these people's phone, and it's coming from whatever app that they're using. We know for a fact that it's not coming from Twitter anymore. I mean, that's the only good thing you could say about it, right? But that's why I came here, because when I was unfortunately with the woman who I was living with, I should just call her, in Queens, New York, I started writing fiction, okay? And the stories aren't great, but they are available on Kindle. And that's the only place where I knew to put them. All right, so I started writing these weird little stories. One of them is about a killer who kind of like loses it. He's just a weirdo like me. He doesn't have a girlfriend. I wrote that when I was married, I swear. Right? And one of them is about this dynamic about a 20-year-old kid and like a 70-year-old guy. Okay, I use this dynamic again in a story that I call Animals. It's about a mad scientist who starts cloning animals, and the people in the little town have to come together and try to stop this mad invasion of animals. Again, it could be a children's show, anything like that, right? I've got numerous ideas, but what we're talking about now is Linoleum Blown Apart. And I do like this character of Walter. I'm in love with him. I'm in love with all of my characters. I'm in love with his story. I could see it so clearly. I hope you can as well. He came over from a fascist country. He fell in the lap of a Hollywood studio. But the most important thing is Jerry. Jerry is one of 3 brothers at the studio, and he has the vision, right? Because the one brother deals with the press and the stars, and the other brother he crunches the numbers, right? That's why families have to work together, guys, because my sister's good at one thing, the other sister's good at another thing, and then I can add to that mulligan. Never. Not in my family. No, Gordon. You're out, buddy. When they look at me, they see this male archetype. Well, what did they see when they were children? They buried it, okay? Me, I dealt with it. I dealt with it in the 04 era when I came back and I started writing songs for Linoleum Blown Apart. Songs like Bohemian Grove. Songs like, what's the other one I really love? Desperation Kills. Again, the song is part of the story that I used in Pork Chops in the Who's Gal. But let's move past that. So we have Walter. He lands in the lap in this country, and they're like, wow, we need an epic like this. And they turn his epic into Of Reasonable Service. This is like From Here to Eternity, okay? But when they work with the military-industrial complex, they show the character, the bad guy in the film, Harriman, as using rocketry to destroy countries, which we know that they did. But when Godwin goes to the North Pole and guys are dying and he's a medic and he makes friends with the admiral there. And the admiral gives him the impetus to like, oh, you're in love with a girl, huh? You're in love with a girl? Yes, go see the girl. Go see your girl. Go get her and love her. You know, and maybe he'll have a story about an unrequited love in his life that he wished that he goes, why do you think I'm at the North Pole and I'm like 60 years old? Because I was in love with a woman and I was too shy. And I never got a chance to get married. And so now I'm married to my work. Yes, go find your love. And again, this gives Godwin the impetus to go. But because he's working with the military, they're showing that they put together this rocket, right? Now, if they weren't going to use Walter, they would have used somebody else. They were going to show this anyways. I mean, that's how 5 steps ahead these guys are. So they're in the North Pole and they're doing all these tests. They're doing tests on weather, radar, seeing how it works in extreme temperatures. And they're also doing tests on rocketry in extreme temperatures. Why? Because they have to test the rocket in extreme temperatures. Where else are you going to do it? You could do heat anywhere. You could do thermal heat anywhere. But you can't do this thermal cold. Not thermal cold, but you can't do this cold except in either the Arctic or the North Pole. They didn't want to go to the Arctic. So you have to use the North Pole because you have the Northwest Passage to come back down to Europe from America, okay? And they're using specifically San Francisco. I like San Francisco because it's very gritty. It's very LGBT. You can show the burgeoning of this society right while you're showing them there, right? You know, it's just got a great mixture of people. It's a huge port, right? So, port city. And so he goes from there, he goes up to the North Pole, and that's what they're showing you in Walter's very first film. They're putting a rocket together. Look at all the stuff I give you. I got this whole narrative down. I don't really care. Right? I'm completely sober. I've been sober for years. It took me a long time to get sober, and I'm proud of myself. I don't need accolades from my family, and I don't need them from any fake, phony Facebook friends. Certainly. And others who weren't on Facebook. So he goes, they show you what they're doing. Now there's a little secret. And so then he does Pork Chops and the Hoosgow, which is just like, I misspoke. I said Concrete Jungle the other day. I was trying to think of a teenage film. I still haven't found it yet, but it was similar to that. I was thinking about teenagers being in gangs. You know, but I did mention Concrete Jungle, and that is a great film. It came out around the same time as Killer's Kiss, and that's what I'm talking about. And that's when he does Pork Chops and the Hoosgow. Comes out around the same time. And you're going to fit it right in there, just like Spinal Tap, just like Zelig. You see where we're going? It fits that same timeline. And so anyway, so Walter has this thing in his film about rocketry. And so he does the Killer's Kiss, Pork Chops and the Hoosgow. Then he does the 2 films with Jeremy Cloud. Jeremy Cloud comes into his life, and like a puff of smoke, all of a sudden he's gone. But he's from a very well-to-do family. And some of the things that he put in the film are very, not only risque, but they're giving away familial secrets. Because it's based on his actual family, not a sticky candy dish, where people are being killed in a, oh, it's an accident. Billionaires being killed in an, oops, just an accident. Okay? And when billionaires are killed, there's other billionaires set to move in and scoop it up. I keep trying to tell you before, anyone's looking to raise themselves up out of their social strata. Everyone is. We all are. So, and even a billionaire, what do they want? What's the next thing they want? They want 2 billion. Now they want 3 billion. It's getting disgraceful. And especially when there's a $15 an hour security guard at Mickey D's preventing a woman from going in there and just using the restroom, so she uses it the restroom right in front on the sidewalk. That's what they want. This is the society that you're creating with these obsequious Philistines. I don't know nothing. What? I don't know. I just got to do my job, bro. I'm sorry, you're not using your discernment? Listen, lady, yeah, you can use the restroom, but there's a time limit. You can only be in there for like 10 or 15 minutes, lady. So I'm sorry. If you want to use the restroom, yeah, you could use it, but please don't mess it up. I caught a guy right in the library. He destroys the toilet every time he goes in there. And I know who he is. It's just really sad, you know? Hey, how you doing, Nick? I appreciate you watching. I'm talking about my project, which is called Linoleum Blown Apart. This is 7 films, but it's actually 9 films because we're going to go into the rap era, right? And these 7 films inspire what's happening 20 years later. And can I just talk about, what's it called? Life on Mars? What was this show? It was, it's a 1970s show, but it's a 1970s show, but it was all happening in the guy's mind. They were on a spaceship, but it's a 1970s show. Oh my God. Okay. All right. When did they come up with the show? At least a dozen years ago, I think. Come on, man. We can think beyond this, right? It's rather simplistic. Like I said, I could create a narrative on Mars like right off the top of my head, right? You marry the two sides, the hemispheres of the brain together, and all of a sudden they have an enemy? They're not only going to destroy their enemy, but they're going to make a symphony out of it. They're going to make it the most beautiful destruction you ever seen in your life. And they're going to be very matter of fact about it because they know they're always one step ahead, right? So you look at my property, it's going from the 1980s. Now, understand something. You don't have to ever say when this is happening. You don't ever have to say that it's the 1980s. All you need is some cars from that era. Hey, don't forget, in the 1980s, we were driving cars from the 1970s. Those were the cars we were finding. We were finding for $300. You can get a car for $300. You go down to the insurance or whatever, you pay some little stupid money. Half the time we were driving around with no insurance. Now everything is electronic. Everything is the Internet of Stranger Things. And I even created a narrative about that. I told you, I have the best untapped imagination to ever troll into town. Okay? When you hear me call people out by name, they're people that are showing up in the schmaggy. It's kind of weird they don't show up as anybody that's watching or whatever. They might have typed that in like, 45 minutes ago. I wouldn't know. I don't know. I just keep going. That's what I do. I have so much confidence in what I'm doing. That's why I'm just not worried about it. I just got to stay... I gotta stay living and breathing. That's all I have to do. But you guys, I'm talking about things on this show that nobody else is talking about. I watch all this. I only watch YouTube. I'm YouTube exclusive. And there's so much superficial stuff on here. And there's so much stuff that's like... I told you, I watch these cringe comedy podcasts. And it's the same people, man. Oh my God, dude. You guys should see. I don't know how it's going to look on this side. It might be a little too noisy as well, but oh my God, dude. Yeah, it's a little bit too much. I might have to move. I don't know. Oh, I don't think I could do it on this side either. Right? We're going to have to get a little bit of shady shade. I watch these guys and it's like, it's all the same people. It's like Joe Rogan and Tom Segura. Oh my God, dude. It's like the same people over and over and over. And just when you thought you got, you had enough of Bert Kreischer, he's promoting a movie. It's like, oh yeah, he made the rounds. Oh, good for him. He has 3 podcasts. Bert Kreischer has 3 podcasts, I think. Do we really need that much Bert Kreischer? And it's like, it gets so boring, dude. Like I said, there's a guy, Jose, can't remember his name. Jose, and, sorry, I'm in the middle of this. I gotta make sure I don't lose anything here. Sorry. We'll be done in a minute. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. We're talking about a television series that I'm writing. It's called Linoleum Blown Apart. I'm trying to get people interested in it. I mean, just take a look at the name itself. It's a lot of fun. People will be like, what are you talking about? And it's about a band whose lead singer has the same birthday as Napoleon. And it causes, and again, you're talking about a chain of events that occurs because of this. It's like one thing happens and then another thing happens, right? Very similar to like the death of Kurt Cobain. You can kind of see it once it's over. You can be like, wow, so he went to Italy and he got roofied and he got sick and he OD'd there. Then he came back, and don't forget, he was with I think Gabby Haynes from the Butthole Surfers was in the same rehab as Kurt Cobain, right? And then you can kind of see him, you know, like, what am I doing here? You know, like, I don't want to be here. I'd rather kick at home. And that's what I did personally as well. I talk about it in my book, Two-Legged Animal. I write it about at 8th grade level. I'm not worried about it. You know, like I said, I'm not overtly loquacious at all. I don't really care about that stuff. Yeah, same rehab. That's right. They all went to the same rehab. So he's one of the last people to see Kurt Cobain. Okay? I don't really care. I'm not trying to base any of my stuff on any person. What we're doing is we're capturing the essence of this time. And in this time, yeah, you had the emergence of rap, but you had punk rock into grunge. And again, you don't have to ever say when it is, because these songs are kind of timeless, and you could tell, right? It doesn't have to be like Life on Mars. And you can kind of tell when this is kind of happening. You can see the clothes, they're punk clothes from the 80s. The music is kind of 80s. You don't ever have to put a timeline on it, right? But you're going to start with the kid, Lenny. He's in a band called Urban Upset, and eventually he's going to lose that, and he's like, I want to change the band name. We got to change. I have to change. Like I said, I was in a band called The Filth, and what was I going to do? I was going to start playing with new guys and still continue the band The Filth. I was like, no, let's come up with a new band. Let's come up with a new name. I was in the grievance committee, and then I come back to Michigan 15 years later, and I hadn't listened to any of my songs. Nobody else could say that because they're too busy peddling their wares. A bunch of phonies who I've called out too many times. Right? And I started a band called Linoleum Blown Apart. I didn't start the grievance committee over again. Okay? So that's what this guy does. Right? In the 1980s. And he sees this film by Walter. And possibly that's when we can go into Walter's life. Now, I told you before, Walter, it's the 1950s into the 60s. He spends like 8 years with this guy, Jeremy Cloud. He doesn't even know who this guy is. And just like me, over the years, when I was with different women, it's like you kind of find things out, you know, year after year after year. You're finding out, oh, okay, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know this. I didn't know that, right? You just kind of find these things out, right, over time. And so it's the same thing when he spends all this time with Jeremy Cloud. He does 2 films with them. They're pretty good. They're like on the level of Hitchcock. They make money, right? Take a look at, you know, the one he does before that is kind of more like Psycho. And then, you know, he does one that's almost like Rear Window, right? And so, you know, his films do fine. So then what happens? Jeremy Cloud disappears, and they start putting in his ear about doing a sci-fi. So in Walter's real life, he meets like an Ian Holm type professor, just like when the studio hooked him up with Jeremy Cloud. Well, we got this professor. He's doing something with physics, right? And now they might actually tie this into actually going, but like Solaris, this is the kind of film that Walter is going to make, like Solaris, and he's gonna hook up with a guy like Stanislav Lem, right? But Stanislav Lem, you know, it was a sci-fi writer, but this guy's not a sci-fi writer, but because like more like Christopher Nolan, he's gonna be an actual physicist. And so it's going to be interesting because this character is just going to be kind of like scratching his head all the time. Like, I had a teacher like this. Yeah, I think you could still watch it for free. I know you can watch some Tarkovsky for free right here on YouTube. I am YouTube exclusive, and I have every right to be here telling my story. And my story is a sight more interesting than most, I tell you that. And that's why I switched to fiction. And I'm on the brink of some of the most interesting and breakthrough fiction that I can, but I'm doing it all while I'm homeless on the streets of Los Angeles. And I put this stuff up online. You can read it, you can look at it. It's free on Kindle and whatever. Okay? So, Walter begins hanging out with the professor. He's like one of the teachers in my school. It's like covered in chalk. I had a geometry teacher who was just completely covered in chalk all the time. Like, you know, he's always up on the board, covered in chalk, right? And so this is who Jeremy starts hanging out with, and his wife Eva is reading all these sci-fi books. I have a couple of them. We might actually use real books. I have a couple of them written down. They're all in my notes, right? All right, so just bring it around. We're at an hour in, right? Yeah, we all had these like teachers who are completely myopic. They can't see the forest for the trees because they're really into this equation, this problem that they're trying to solve, right? And so that's what this guy is doing as well. He's a professor of physics, and they have to discuss how they're going to go to this star system. And so tomorrow, for sure, I'm going to be telling you guys about the narrative to Scorpius XL. It's about 4 astronauts, and then there's a Gus Grissom who dies, right? There's a Gus Grissom type character who dies. And how he dies is that it's the night before liftoff, and because there's a bunch of good old boys, they like to drink beer. They're out drinking beer, and they're out drinking and driving, and they're racing their cars around the tarmac. The rocket's there, and they're getting ready to go off. They're going to leave the next day with a hangover, right? They'll know it. But, oh well. Like I said, they're guys like me, man. What do you think we were doing? We're just drinking beer, having a good time. That's what I thought we were all doing. I didn't know that everyone was going to turn on me. They were going to use an algorithm. They ran suicide ops, self-harm ops, I should say. They expected me to self-harm. They wanted me to self-harm. And this all came through the Facebook app. And I talk about this as well on my show. I talk about so many things on this show that nobody else is really talking about. You, like I said, you keep seeing the same old people over and over and over again. And people like us and my watchers are getting sick of it. So please stay tuned to tomorrow's show, and I'll get into more. I'll start right away with this narrative to Scorpius XL. You can bet your pippy. Cheers.